brain is dominant. When she looks like she's going counterclockwise, her left brain is dominant.
So when you're witnessing something physical, it affects the...
Well, it's a test they do. So it's basically a series of 3 stills repeating. So one is here with like a leg like this, and one is here with the leg in the middle. But you don't see, I mean, but it looks the same from front or back. And then the next one is over here. So it depends, you know, if you see it and it goes like this, then that's counterclockwise. That means your left brain is dominant.
Yeah.
It's weird, but I couldn't get my left brain to get dominant at all.
Okay. Oh, I see. So these are the.
I know it's a goldfish,
Can we
right?
give it? Can we put up the third one?
It was on the calendar for
What are we gonna do with that?
Oh, I have this one here for you. Just put it on a chair.
That's cool.
Just take this chair.
Oh, great.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
Just take this
We're
chair.
not going to be in front of the camera. It's
We'll
just
just bring one of the chairs here.
Can we bring the other stuff a little closer?
Is that for the other,
So that
that's the other easel?
yeah, actually really up close, like at that border there where the cigarettes are.
There's no
Actually, it's all yours.
There's no schedule.
So,
Or
Yeah, you can go on
through
to
this
another.
Are we live now?
We are. We should do a little dance or something, you know? But faceless dance.
Okay, this is Mike Estabrook doing a jig. This is Emmy Catedral in the hood. This is Ernest Concepcion with a cigarette. And that's Ronnie Bass, our esteemed producer in the segment with a drill bit.
much handyman.
Pretty much everything. I am Paolo Javier. The person gurgling is Tim Peterson. Thank you for tuning in. We'll begin our performance anytime now. I guess it started.
All right.
We're on the mics.
Wow, look at that. That's neat. All right. It's got so much personality now.
With it, and you know.
That's true.
So, I'll let you be.
You gonna try it? All right, I'll be on the
recording and streaming.
Yeah, Mike.
Where's the mics are gonna be over here?
There's one right up front here, yeah.
Where do you want the mic set? Just let
Me and Tim.
over here. Okay.
Can't quite see the person on the left side.
Which one?
The person on the left side. Oh, I guess it's okay.
Who, me?
Here, we can see everybody.
You can see everybody.
You want the mic, Tim?
Can you see me now?
Hey, Ronnie?
I don't think so.
No,
Can
you
we give
can't.
the mic to Tim?
All right, so let's move it
We're
more
gonna
to
be talking
the
later.
center.
Yeah. One of them.
Let me take this,
Yeah.
turn it down a little, so.
Wait.
Yeah.
Very,
You know which one?
We're
doing this slide, we're just chipping away.
Interviewing you first.
Okay, but in terms of the question, just whatever.
It's up to you. You do what you want.
Microphone check. Microphone. Microphone check. Microphone check. Microphone check. Microphone.
Bring these with us.
Microphone. Microphone check. Microphone check. Microphone check. Microphone check.
Okay, Tim, here you go. And it sounds best if you just actually just hold it like this, like how Bart Parker.
Yeah, there's no, is there something solid behind you?
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
put that there. Here's your mic. Yeah.
I've got the squeaky marker.
So you want a mic also?
Yes.
Okay. So, and again, this thing sounds best because it's kind of a room mic. Sounds best if you pretty much hold it.
Yo, you
about
want a
right
drink?
here.
Yeah, I got a drink.
Yeah.
Should we do a Negro Modelo commercial? Or should we do like, Mexico versus Japan?
Yeah, do that.
I am Senor Negro Modelo. Oh,
I
nice.
could have had my.
Yeah.
Tim. Shall we?
You ready? You got red, white, blue?
I have red and blue and white peach.
Well, here, I'll put this is black on there. You'll have some anarchy. Are there any other black marks?
There's one here.
They can make one.
Okay, this is Tim Peterson. I'm here with Paolo Javier. And Paolo, you've had several books published in the past few years. You're a poet well into his career. Most notably, The Time at the End of This Writing, in 2004 from Ahadada, and 60 Love Bombs from O Books in 2005. It's remarkable how different the style in the books is. It seems like they could have been written by two different people, almost. How did the writing in your life change between 2004 and 2005?
Yes, thanks for that question. I wasn't prepared to answer that particular question, so maybe I should call on that other self that I discovered between books. I think it has a lot to do with my interest in
Cross-border myopics?
language, precisely. Electric fans streaming through the vents. I really thought that my first book was a first book. I was very conscious of it being a first book. It was partially a collection of poems, but also kind of a very deliberate showcase of what I've learned and what I've been able to do with poetry. And so the second book, I felt an even greater detachment. Later on, I felt it to be freedom with language, and I really wanted to interrogate language. Sonically, visually, psychically, yeah. So I think that's the trajectory.
Do you feel that you've changed as a person the way the books have changed? Or is it just another side of your personality? Because there's a lot of writers who say that you're supposed to have a unified voice.
Right.
I'm
very skeptical of voice, if only because I've never been able to create one specifically for myself. I think it all goes back to my undergrad experience of the language kind of falling apart, breaking apart, as I deliberately tried to adhere to the English syntax, for example. So
I think you're getting this stuff from Spam. It's so good.
I think I'm probably a Trotskyist. Try.
Who the hell thinks up Jonathan Safran Foer?
Who the hell thinks of Candide, gazelle-like?
Well, speaking of which, your 60 Love Bombs book got a lot of great reviews, right? So I'm wondering, what was the most satisfying response to your first kiss, your first direct mail campaign?
Well, I'll tell you something about that, Charlie. Trisexual. Instead, I prefer to pick daisies off the highway medians and spend my days thinking about reasons. You're also quite young, which infuriates others. These are things that I would hear now and then while I was creating this book. I actually honestly did not anticipate the response that 60 Love Bombs was able to generate. I'm very thankful for it. I'm very grateful for it. I actually thought that this book would, I guess, be reviled for some reason. And
Reviled?
I think it reviled because...
Reviled is a strong archetype to panhandle.
But I thank you as one of the central people here.
Well, thank you. Stop groping my lung, though. Seriously.
I'm full of Alcatraz. I can't help it.
How did you get into Harvard? Was it just sheer brilliance, or...?
Well, I put together a small folio like a chapbook. But why don't you go back and pull out your old stuff when you ask me these things?
I dreamed I was writing this poem with you over IM like years ago. Pepperoni Iliad?
Oh, right. That was when we were registering forensic biologist canister meat. Like thin sliced ball breaker with lip gloss. A Julia unknown and dark attic Mambo King.
Do you identify as a post? I mean, if so, wooden, iron, or concrete? And do many posts make a fence?
I said, what about daisies on the Rhodes Collagen?
Well, in that case, are you an Asian American poet? And does this identification create pressure in your interactions with similarly identified writers on postage stamps?
Correction, I'm not just an Asian American poet. I'm a glittering Asian American poet. Quest delayed, liable sheet, Ophelia flattened Asian American poet.
Your work seems haunted by a variety of voices, as you are in person. How many languages do you speak? And how does this affect what you enjoy reading in the spare time within your poems?
I speak immediately 2 languages. I speak English. I was born in the Philippines and I grew up in an English-speaking household, and outside of that household I understood, I heard, but did not speak Filipino. But you know, you won't actually see this reflected in my writing till my second book. It's a private language crumb appeaser thong. You praise her thumb pivoted land bridge, right?
So
okay.
So is that area ever walled off, or is it permeable?
Pumpkin muffin?
What time of day do you like to write in drag?
Preferably in the morning, between a crumpet and between my breakfast muffin.
Which do you prefer or feel more inclined to identify with? A breakfast muffin?
Drag?
Stop licking my camp.
To the ideal tangents of Simon Cowell, the dream of a moth brigand?
Well, then what is the relationship between writing and reading for you in terms of how you dress?
Everything. Everything goes back to dressing.
Do you feel that your writing has a race, a class, or a gender? Does your writing have a body with a similar arrangement of limbs, desires, and tendencies?
Without trying to be smart, but being smart, I think my writing is all about erasure. It's all about a little respect.
Erasure of what?
Simon Cowell, of course.
Barbed wire halter, rosier flannel. Javier, nice day.
Past structures, less strictures?
At one point you attended high school in Egypt.
I did.
So I'm thinking here, if life is essentially all high school from here on out, how did that experience affect your poetry?
It affected my poetry insofar as I was able to bring in references to pyramids, to sand, to camels, to sahleb and shishas, and poems that will never appear in any book that I put together. Isaiah Habibi, alhamdulillah.
Is that why there's so much desert-related imagery in some of your work? I noticed the word Tucson cropping up and other western and southern
Well, it has
words.
everything to do with the fact that I have a sweet tooth and a green thumb.
A sweet tooth for large patches of sand,
Like
which have potential to germinate.
I'm listing steamed rope comatose underwear in May.
I don't believe in comatose underwear in May.
Neville Barnes, weather, tremendous violence, neither?
How often do you feel yourself imitating other people that you meet inside works of art?
I've always felt since graduating from college that originality is overrated. And I've shamelessly...
What about staged aboriginality, though? I mean...
Can you stage it? Can't you be enraged by it and not stage it? Like sewage, sewer, dirt?
That's a
mines?
serious question, actually.
It's quite potent, totemic. How about I ask you this? Past structures, less strictures, likened to strange Brittany Carib lashings. Did you sell out the bridge and tunnel box office to a slanderous waste crew made up of 6 different favelas?
Well, you don't want your first attempts at poetry to be just a tote bag, so...
No, but you'd like to carry it eventually.
Do you want to carry it? I don't know. I mean, what is for example, I mean, your work seems very influenced by Paolo Javier. When did he become an important presence in terms of the work? And what do you feel is your connection with him?
I think Paolo Javier started inhabiting the work a lot more, when I finally gave in to him. There used to be this bar on St. Mark's Place. I won't mention because I just don't want to out Paulo's old haunts. But it all goes back to that day that he offered me a falafel and I said yes.
But you still don't know what he's thinking about.
But I hear what he says. Rummaging through Watchtower Swiss Cadet.
Yeah, I identify with what you're saying about cadets, definitely.
Why? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I'm really drawn to that pink castle on 60 Love Bombs. I mean, how does the pink castle fit into your daily routine? Are there any flags hanging from it? Like Mickey, Donald, etc.
I think the pink castle emerged when I was trying to come up with new fabric that I needed to rummage through the Yellow Elephant's closet for. And somehow...
And the Yellow Elephant just appeared out of nowhere.
No, I was sleeping with a pink elephant. I was learning...
So the Yellow Elephant got jealous?
And the Yellow Elephant, who was a fuck buddy of the pink elephant, somehow caught wind of this. And while I was rummaging through the closet, I ended up having to hide in the closet for fear of the Yellow Elephant's wrath. How do you hide an Asian American poet inside the closet for long?
With the pink elephant.
With the pink elephant, it's my glittering eyes. Give it away.
So who's your favorite Asian American poet, would you say?
Aside from Paolo Javier? I finally met Paolo Javier, by the way. Like, I finally met him.
Really?
Yeah. We were both wearing sunglasses. And we both decided that we were the children of the following Asian American poets. Tan Lin, John Yao, Myung-Mi Kim, to a certain extent, Lee Young Lee, but would never admit that. Who else? Jose Garcia Villa, Teresa Hakyung Cha. Lately we've been the children of Dao Lin. Lately we've been the children of Tsering Wangpa. But more than anybody who we admire, I gotta say, I won't say it. Oh, why the hell not? Michael McGee.
Well, let's stop talking about Asian American poets for a minute and start talking about some white poets who might have influenced you. What do you think of language poetry, for example? I can see you as like an Asian American poet who's influenced by language poetry.
I love fur or speakers on my pillow. Beat, splat, boom. Definitely.
I died from ill-fitting pants.
Daisy on a change? Roger Daughtry is scalding me?
Yeah, so this paper is really loud, just all the turning of the paper,
I know, it's like a wombat in the Garden of Christmas.
No, it's not. So I understand you're writing a play.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you weigh?
60 pages. Yeah. Between the ages of 12 and 34.
So that about covers it?
Embracing.
Are the voices all you that are coming from different
directions? Here, there.
While writing this recent book, I'm wondering if you wore rubber gloves while you were cleaning the toilet. How do you think this affected the writing?
Oh, my goodness. I think it infected it somehow. Between taking out the trash and cutting up my Rebel Tech boxes and throwing out my roommate's old boxes of porn. So I kept the jackets of it, you know. But I would never appropriate the descriptions of these
Old boxes of porn?
of these vivid videos into my poetry.
So were there rubber gloves in the porn?
Plastic,
Dishwashing porn?
laundry detergent porn,
That's hot.
sweltering.
So I think, I'm almost out of questions, but I think I wanted to give you the opportunity to read a poem if you wanted to do that.
Sure, do you have a request?
Yes. I could really use a back rub.
In a small drawer, like the one we stood on Tuesday?
A slightly larger drawer than that.
The one that we swapped notes on, and you said, "Take care, see you soon, invested, amassed, beside himself you."
Oh, come on. You know that I only swap notes with a few people who I really care about.
All right, that's what the novice spatula attended to the origami said, "O Conditioner Avenue."
So when are you going to interview me one day?
When you finally admit that I am the Pirate King.
See, yeah, okay, I'm wondering about that. Okay, I have a couple phrases. I'm going to mention some phrases, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind, all right?
Yes.
So, what's up with this Pirate King stuff?
You really want to know what's up with this Pirate King stuff?
I do.
How about I tell you that it's the flag half-mast, on the moon, while Armstrong said, "Hey, something's following us."
So it's like a passive-aggressive form of dissent.
It's like brown rice lifting the ear breath.
Okay, well, while I'm thinking about that, how about Bilang Ko?
Bilang ko? Bilang mo? Oh, now you're asking me a question. Now you're getting to the hard stuff. Now you're asking me to count my blessings. Sure, I can do that.
Yeah, I'm crossing a few boundaries with the shopping cart.
Deviled eggs slash through traffic. They score, rehearse, chant some more, like Steve Jobs lactating.
She arches her back above my bed.
Of course.
How about Tris Teaser?
How about Tris Teaser? I mean, it all boils down to the question, could we be more direct, like an eye generating a bulb fortune?
Well, I think you've already been very direct in the parabolic way that you encamp yourself among a number of writers.
How about we agree to disagree?
Okay.
Doesn't mean I'll never love you.
I like to wear heels.
I like to swagger when I walk. This is Paolo Javier welcoming you to the second part of tonight's interview between two poets. The poet who I'll be interviewing is the one and only Tim Peterson. Tim Peterson, for those of you who are hearing his name for the first time, is the author of Since I Moved In, which is a recipient of the Gil Ott Award, published by the wonderful Chax Press. He is also a highly influential editor. He has his small press journal called EOAGH. And I believe this weekend, on Saturday, they'll be debuting their 4th volume. So check it out online. EOAGH. Volume 4 is going to drop on Saturday. Check it out. So, Tim, good to be chatting with you.
Thank you very much.
You moved from Arizona, right?
I moved from Arizona and then from Boston.
Oh, whoa. You ended up in Boston somehow.
I did. I lived in Boston, and I banged my head against the wall for about 3 years.
What iced tea were you drinking in Boston?
I think I was drinking some kind of Sam Adams iced tea.
Yeah?
Or not, because it makes the medication have a larger effect.
How did you enjoy your chowder served?
Well, I spent a lot of time in Gloucester, where
Oh, in Gloucester.
I found I was allergic to chowder, but there were a lot of people there who influenced me, like Garrett Lansing and James Cook and some other friends like that. And
While you were in Gloucester, did you visit Olson's haunts? Is he from Gloucester, Olson?
well, are Olson's haunts in Gloucester? I mean, can you be haunted by Olson?
Nightly,
Oh, you're haunted by Olson.
to a certain extent.
I don't find that I slip into Olson very often.
Oh, do tell.
Well, I just think that Olson takes himself very seriously, and he's endeavoring to explain something to you, and I think that's where a lot of the force of his work comes from, because there's this kind of breathless iteration of what's so urgent that he needs to say. But you know, I think being in New York, I can see that more from a perspective of, oh, come off it.
When did you move to New York?
I moved to New York about the size of a small pillbox.
Oh, yeah?
And then I gradually expanded from there.
Well, how have you decorated?
I'm up to about 30 square feet at this point.
Okay, so that's a pretty average size of a New York apartment. How have you decorated the space since you moved here?
Well, I spend my time finding places to lodge books in various crevices, and then sometimes I go shopping for various types of mini skirts, heels, things like that, which I don't buy. I only window shop.
You window shop?
Well, I can't afford to spend very much on anything. I make very little money. It's I really understand. Someone said today that poetry is the new pity fuck. So I can understand that.
Can I quote that?
You can stop heckling me with yurts.
What do your guests say? Barbara in particular.
Barbara and I have had a relationship for a long time. She is a really great poet who's in Arizona, and I worked on a MFA thesis with her. I think she was one of the few people who was sympathetic, along with Charles Alexander and Tenny Nathanson, there in Tucson. And I was talking to a friend the other day about how you have, when you write, you have many different poets who have lodged their little seed pod / time bomb inside your head, and you're actually writing in this sort of imagined community of people who have had an influence on you, or in the case of some areas of New York, have had their hooks into you in various ways, and you have to stomp all over that retriever.
I want to know, and you can be perfectly frank or not with me when you respond to this question.
I'm serious. I'm about to fall asleep here.
What's the reason for your book's arrest?
I'm gonna hit keyboard with face. 5 seconds.
Last time you rode with a poem, did it drive stick or automatic?
3 seconds.
Tea or coffee or tea?
Like a rammed bow, which needed to be stated explicitly and not disproven.
Does Rambo tumble over a friend hill? I'd like to know, so that I'm better equipped to fly over the crags of Paris.
Well, I think Rimbaud is a little bit like Tarzan in that way, and there you find that kind of fetish quality coming in. You know, like what is a fetish? That's supposed to be a really bad thing, right?
What is a fetish?
That's what it's all about.
Right.
It being the elephant that you're hiding from.
Just to be very, very serious for 1 second. Whenever you see Tim Peterson interviewed in the Paris Review or the New Yorker, or by Bill Moyers, how do you deal with it?
I just think Bill Moyers is the sweetest guy, and I thought he really understood my work well. You know, I mean, sometimes he gives attention to lesser writers like you know, Billy Collins, and I think he's just really the most generous person. But when he interviewed, when I saw him interviewing Tim Peterson, I thought that he really understood the whole transitoriness of identity, gender flux thing, phenomenology, language thing very well. And I really liked the fact that he dressed in drag for the occasion of the interview.
A cataleptic prestidigitator. Because I asked this because your work seems very influenced by Bill Moyers.
It is, actually.
When did you realize he became an important presence in terms of poetry?
Well, I find that I'm trying to consistently depart from Bill Moyers, but I sort of keep coming back to him in this way, in these various moments of pathos or empathy. I mean, on the one hand, I can't imagine there being anything bad about empathy when I'm getting dressed in the morning, right? But then later on in the day, I start to reconsider, and I have a more Brechtian take on empathy after I'm on my second cup of coffee.
Speaking of Brecht, while you were putting together Since I Moved In, what was your first meal of the day?
I usually didn't have a first meal of the day. I often skipped breakfast, and that was really painful, you know, for a long time. I was having to deal with that, and you know, and I think some of that comes out in the work.
It must be really hard to skip breakfast. It's a tough gesture.
Well, I'm Swedish former naughty Artie Flint clicker.
On some Jesuit campaign?
Yeah, and in some of those poems I was stomping Jesuits too. You know, I mean, you can't quite hear it, but if you look closely, you know, I had a great time at the party that weekend.
Yeah, well, I gotta say about your book, okay, there's a wonderfully indirect confrontational affect to your language.
Confrontational.
Confrontational. That's the kind of hybrid words that reading your work generates for me. I
find that there's some writers who really do that for me. Other writers, like Philip Marinovich, I feel is confrontational.
Oh, he's confrontational.
I admire him a lot. Yeah.
Me too. I'm a big fan of Philippe.
Yeah.
And but let me quote.
Maybe Brenda Ijima.
Oh, I don't know.
Fairly confrontational.
She's from confrontesimal.
Confrontational.
Infinitational.
Well, it's when you're dissolving into the inanimate, or when you're dissolving into the surrounding career limits, or the stock photography. There's this basic tension between you know, catering and walking your own line, and that becomes a staple of my relationships with a lot of other poets.
Which bath?
The second one. The one that had more bubbles in it?
The one where David Duchovny rides the plank?
There was a great movie, actually, by, I think it was Jacob Kasdan or Lawrence Kasdan, and it had David Duchovny in this role with a beard, and he was working for Sigourney Weaver, who was the head of this corporate company, and she had all these lines like, in a lot of, oh, so-and-so has fake breasts, and I think by the 10th episode in the series, people can tell. That's what a lot of poetry is like for me, you know.
Seriously? I thought only traffic holds the day.
Traffic is not essential. Traffic is peripheral.
Well, you know, James once said of his practicum, Alexis, off with his head.
I'm serious. I'm about to hit the keyboard with my face here. You gotta come up with some better questions, man.
Fanning my fanny with Lacan. Okay, well, I got...
Now I'm wandering into a long, slow corridor of people who never came to my reading.
Perfect timing.
It's a room mic. Don't forget to step back from it.
Only frames. As the boa constrictor gift wraps my iPod. Why, thank you. Ha ha. Ooh, platelets in heaps. Stick a fork in Minnie, she's done. Here's a poem of yours that I wanted to sort of read briefly.
Okay.
Gyno or gyno, poem blocker, stilt, listening up, the lint barrier of sound makeup, gorge, fetal, air conditioning, heat nose, commercial petting zilch, tumble over a friend hill, perfect each loader second. Let's say Nancy Drew went snooping through your fridge. What would she discover?
Well, there was a friend of mine who had a gyno poem blocker on his desktop, and after he read that poem, he was changed. He stopped using it after that. So I think that was a really important intervention. And actually I wrote that poem while I was in drag. I'm not joking about that. Sometimes I write in drag, and
when do you write in drag?
It's unpredictable. But that particular poem, it contained at least a couple cases of frozen peas and some soy milk. Although I hear soy milk raises your estrogen, which might be good. In the way
that Mrs. Krabappel raises Homer's estrogen?
Yeah. I'm getting back to you on the fridge question. There were some Krabappels in the fridge, actually. Speaking of which.
Abstract saxophonism?
The Jesuits are having a much larger part in this than I anticipated they would.
Yeah, they're usurping us whale pornographers.
It's like a universe, and the Jesuits are one of the planets.
Well, I just have a few more questions to throw at you.
Are you trying to convert me? You're trying to convert me, are you?
No, I'm trying to trade cowboy hats. Would you wear mine in over your head?
Well, I think cowboys have become no longer a neutral sign in the culture, just like everything else that's masculine, that's hyper-masculine, which is now, I think, can be seen as queer. And I think in that sense, you need to be aware of those things.
Let's talk about masculinity in New York City.
Okay.
And the oceans that you wade through since you moved to New York.
Mm-hmm.
How does the sea taste?
The sea tastes usually brackish, but sometimes there are moments of, sometimes there are moments of lunging, sometimes there's a kind of like a David Carson moment where you can see things like from a faraway perspective, like grok them, like a blurry photograph in back of a misaligned font. And I found a lot of people here who have been wonderful friends and collaborators, and I'm really pleased to be here in New York. I've been curating the Segway series, which has been a really wonderful experience.
Yeah, and it's been a terrific lineup, I'd say, the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you get involved?
Oh, you're just saying that because you're reading in it this spring, I think.
No, I'm really saying that because I want to distract myself from the next question, which has everything to do with crab chowder. Do you find that...
You keep bringing up crab chowder. Don't you realize that I'm allergic to shellfish? I mean, that comment offended me.
In what way? Because I'd like to offer you tea and coffee to make up for it. mean, is there a reason for why your book was arrested?
It wasn't arrested. It was just indicted on minor charges, and those were silly and misplaced. And somebody wrote an inflammatory review and then corrected it later. So nobody's the wiser. The book, I think, stands on its own. The question is, what do you do next? What direction are you vibrating in at the moment, and how do you perceive that?
What advice do you give to the spectator blinded by your glittering gaze?
I don't feel my gaze is glittering. I feel that my gaze is more elegiac.
More elegiac.
But confidently dispersed enough to avoid the basic booby traps of the romantic and the confessional, which I'm constantly stepping around, which I think a lot of us are constantly stepping around if we're trying to write about something that's real or substantial.
I got one word and one more question to ask you.
What's that?
Sincerity.
Sincerity. I think that sincerity is laudable and possible, but I think that I'm suspicious of it at the same time. And there's always a couple people. There's always a couple people in my life who are balancing the two in various degrees. But I think you can obviously tell transparently when someone is not sincere, and that can start to become irritating in the way that a bad chicken salad sandwich can become irritating. But that's why I like to open a beer in front of the camera and just kick back and relax.
And does that answer why we all can't get a thong?
I think we can all try. I think we can all try for a thong that feels like it's holding things together.
Like amnesty grass?
Well, I think we don't need to tell people about our thong necessarily.
A third eye oscillation?
I think they can just perceive the thong through the third eye.
Bald fascicle liar?
As I swim upstream against the onslaught of surrealist fetishism, I park bad teeth.
Blues interface. Absence gladly bends them out. Lights get dimmer down Biggie's hallway.
That's what I like about this campsite.
Oh, the porn trees?
We're free to eliminate whatever clandestine appointments we deserve.
As your presence said, wrapped like a melancholy gerbil, sun tanning in lead.
You and your gerbil aren't listening to me.
Ape me on the railing, shotgun prattles. Hey, I'm not 18 yet.
Oh my God.
Yabba dabba doo.
That's not worth worrying about now, I think.
Okay, well, this has been pretty meaningful having this chat with you. I think we should continue this outside of the house. What do you say?
I think we should rate other poets.
Yeah.
And talk about the transcription of their accessibility.
Is it like setting up some kind of star system that we'll never share with anybody else?
Yeah, I think so. It could be like a private star system, like a private language.
Kind of like a private language.
And then we could go back on it later.
Right, but no reservations.
No.
Okay. Nice talking with you, Tim.
I appreciate your identity, and it's my frozen treat.
Let's move in together. What do you say?
Good? Yeah. That was enjoyable.
Baby Jesus.
Baby Jesus.
Well, I guess it's time to talk about my experience. I'll go do it.
I was enjoying watching you draw.
I found the experience of drawing to their interviews to be sequential. It was interesting because it was, I started off literally transcribing what they were saying, and then we all switched positions. It's hard to keep up with them because they were fast. And then,
Whoa, this is thick.
then we switched positions and had to change. That was cool.
A realness.
And then my arm started hurting, so I started drawing with my left hand, and it was really weird because as soon as I started drawing with my left hand, I couldn't transcribe literally what they were saying, but I started feeling like I was kind of tapping into some weird undercurrent of what they were talking about. Like, you know, I know it sounds flaky, but it was sort of like getting into the essence of what they were doing. And that was cool. And then I switched back to my right hand, and it kind of went into this whole different thing that was sort of a melding of those two things.
You get your watch. Just watch.
Maybe we should just talk about the drawings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you each talk about one by one, maybe?
Yeah. Bring it right up. Bring it right up.
I don't think you can see it from the camera.
Yeah.
This was around the time when I was kind of being a little too literal, and Tim was asking Paolo about 2005 and 2006 Paolo, but I made sure that I was just kind of getting loosened up, and I hadn't had a proper Niagara Modelo yet. But here's Paolo's mole on his nose. I made sure it got on the page. And jump around and talk about it.
Oh, what did you do in Sapporo?
He got his own.
Same place.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Paolo Javier, 930 BC, in the cloisters. There were, I was drawing, you know, there's something happened in 930 BC at that time in the cloisters. And I was just drawing, it's like these two guys like talking behind me, it's like really distracting, you know. I just had to write whatever, you know, just like really distracting, two people talking. It's really disturbing my moment of creativity.
Me too.
But back in 930 BC, the monks had to flee the cloisters because there was like this UFO attack with an inverted cross, so they had to like build a tunnel underneath the cloisters to flee the invasion. So they built the tunnel, and in the tunnel they found all these monsters, and you know, just like these gigantic monsters in the tunnel.
Who had foresight to die as their hit points.
Yeah, there's like these guys, hip hop guys in the
That
Upper
makes
West
sense.
Side.
He's in
Jesuit.
Egypt there, and you know,
Exactly.
Paolo likes hip hop, and he went to high
He's
school.
a bridge and tunnel
in
Jesuit,
Egypt,
that
and-
guy.
Exactly. So they,
And you started rolling your cigarette right around the time you were drawing a camel.
that's right. So it's it's just that's what they saw. That's tunnel, and then I think it goes to
Toilets there, I think.
the tunnel's there.
There was a lot of food. I just responded to a lot of the food. Oh, it is truck food.
Yeah.
But there's a story. And then when they saw the giants, they saw these female giants, and they became their new god. So these female giants wanted to procreate with the monks, and the female giants put the monks and, inside of them so they could, procreate a new race. But again, these two guys keep talking, blah, 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 blah. And an elephant appeared out of nowhere. There's an elephant.
Yeah, the elephant too.
And then we go here. The elephant with the shades is like, you guys really procreate really well. He's like, yeah, it's cool.
I tried to draw a falafel sandwich.
Falafel sandwich?
There was not a template of falafel sandwich. There was a lot of talk of rubber gloves, and that's my association with rubber gloves, or like going into them and making balloon inside them. Someone started talking about toilet and things growing out of eyeballs. Oh yeah, and then Tim was talking about how tiny his apartment was and the beard in Boston. So,
What's a wedding cake?
no, I don't know. It's well, you've been shopping for women's clothes.
Well, that coincided with the Adam and Eve moment.
Do you have an Adam and Eve?
Yeah, right there.
Oh wow.
Because that's the birth of, that's what came out.
And there, it looks like they're on a cake.
Yeah, they're on a cake. Oh, it's so weird.
Why are we on the
That coincided
Well,
with the thing.
Tim was, well, I wanted him to kind of look into a shop window.
That's bizarre.
I know.
And
Yeah.
this is Rambo.
That makes perfect sense.
Rambo.
When he's wanking on a cactus,
It's
yeah.
an inverted cactus.
When he's wanking the cactus.
But that's an inverted
The
cross.
cactus is from Tucson. And this is Matt the knife.
Oh, is that's the bread.
Because this is with the coffee and the bread.
Yeah, I was drawing a bunch of different donuts
And this
with
is the
varying
Jesuit Swede.
donuts with varying hole
This
sizes.
is like the donut universe.
Yeah, I know. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like there's like the really rich kind of cupcake cafe donut where you don't really see a hole, and then there are ones where there's an actual hole you can put your finger through, and
And this is the one I did with my left hand. And my arm started hurting, not this elbow.
It's actually
it's
really
kind of, it
nice.
looks, yes.
You like that?
Hey, that's
Yeah.
perfect because
Where did the beard come
I
from?
thought that this kind of looked a little
Somebody
bit.
said something about
It's
a
a salad.
beard, and then a fake boob, and there's a fake boob in there. Though it's actually kind of organic
Well,
shape.
it's
Female
It
salad.
kind of looks like Jesus, and
Jesus with fake boobs,
and
right?
I don't remember the other
you have a big baby Jesus right afterwards, and I didn't know that you drew Jesus right before.
It's cool, right? It's weird. Things got weird that way. I swear. After I started drawing left-handed, because I started drawing this one. Ernest had drawn this thing here, and I started drawing this, and I had this Tibetan monster thing in my head. And as I was drawing the first eye, you said something about a third eye, and it's a Tibetan monster. I was going to draw a third eye, and you did it before I even drew it. It was like you picked up on the
I tried
vibe
drawing
somehow. It
eyeballs.
was weird. Yeah. And so the Jesus thing, it's this weird space you get
Yeah.
into. It's kind of
All
cool.
religion.
Where did the socks come from?
Where did this?
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
didn't you guys talk about socks? Maybe I just heard socks.
Maybe it all sucks.
This is the long corridor to your readings, but in the form of hopscotch. And I wanted it to kind of be more flashy, but it didn't work out. Long corridor. Yeah. Is there anything else under here? All right.
That's a soup shower.
Here's the shower.
Shower?
Yeah.
That's
And,
a turbo.
A French gerbil? Is that Rambo the gerbil?
Where's Richard Gere?
Yeah, right? Rambo would probably.
And the soup has minor charges in it.
Rambo would probably enslave
Minor
a gerbil.
charges.
What are minor charges?
Somebody said it.
You need some change with the gerbil.
Somebody was talking about clam chowder and minor charges with things.
What about this one?
Are these fake boobs?
Well, I was thinking
Oh.
a lot about boobs.
I didn't
because
know.
someone was talking about lactating.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? Yeah, I mean,
I
they
did some lactating somewhere. I can't remember
There was some
where.
lactating?
yeah.
Yeah, I was lactating the whole time, but,
Amazing what you can say and you don't remember.
you know, I gotta go, let's go from the beginning. Because I can't remember when the lactating thing happened. Now I want to trace back.
Maybe that's what was happening.
Let's
Y'all
see.
were lactating.
Well, there's Alcatraz. Let's start from the beginning, all three of us.
Oh, yeah, there was
And see where it is. This is Alcatraz.
See, there's actually.
Oh yeah, this hammer was lactating. And then the lactation turned into a missile. Because it was love bomb. And then he's on a boat in San Francisco Bay. There's the MetLife building. Because you were in Alcatraz. Sound. Voice.
This is from the previous.
But then we had to switch.
I think that
And then the car.
Ronnie Bass race.
Oh, she switched with me and I switched with you. Oh, there's the pyramids.
Well, I just kind of, I
that's-
responded to all the food and there, I don't know, I have Spam fried rice here.
Is there consistency to what you responded to? Like the nature?
It
of
seems like it. The
words?
pyramids came
Were
up.
they
Mine were
nouns?
four-sided
Were they
dives.
verbs? Were they objects?
There was
Nouns?
consistency to my response to food.
Proper name?
And you guys were talking a little bit about chatting, like, or Google Chat or whatever it was you guys were talking with. So I tried to do that with the red and blue because that usually is like, are like the default colors when you start chatting. And cupcakes. More breakfast. Maybe the lactating started around this.
Maybe right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a lactation page,
It's
right?
very graphic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're kind of.
Is this lefty?
No, that's Ernest. So yeah.
So yeah.
Ernest is my left hand. I was using Ernest to draw this one.
The Philippine.
Yeah, like, oh, the birth of Chuck Close is right here. So I like that.
Big chocolate.
I want to see Chuck close
Yeah.
in person.
Hey, there's
He's
a.
born?
He was born from a giant female.
This is the Anunnaki.
Chuck Close, was he born in wheelchair form?
Giant
Yeah, because the Adam and Eve wanted to flee the tunnel, and then they had a ladder, but as soon as they were leaving a ladder, there was like a subway that just came from, upstairs, and then, so they fell.
So,
So they had to be in a wheelchair.
there's an elephant here too, but it doesn't have shades on like my elephant. But it has a kind of strange hat on.
He has a
Now,
fence.
I gotta ask you
Yeah.
something. You said something about an elephant, but I had already drawn an elephant, and I can't remember why I drew an elephant.
That's wild.
I
Yeah,
don't know if
I noticed
drew an
that I was
elephant.
really influenced by what you guys were saying.
I was wondering
while I
about
was
that.
talking.
Yeah.
Can you guys see it?
The images have this like magnetism and momentum
Yeah.
to them, you know?
Everything was really kind of automatic. Was he?
The sound of the paper is actually nice in that
Yeah.
part.
So
But that's how Chuck Close became what he was right now.
I like this monster apple here.
Oh yeah, what was that? Oh, it was that was the
Someone mentioned-
lactating Steve Jobs.
Yeah, I
That's why the
remember.
apple's got a boob coming out of its mouth and it's spewing out milk.
I remember that when I was thinking of Steve Jobs or Jobs and I saw monster apple. Nice boots.
Yeah, that was just me.
Steve Jobs
Right
and
hand.
Matt Kulak.
What do you think of the boots, Tim?
I think they're good. I don't think they look kind of like they're a different season, like maybe their last season and the previous season.
Yeah.
You know the season, yeah?
Yeah, you seem to know for somebody who doesn't shop.
Seems a little bit, yeah.
It's all in catalogs.
Oh, there's a window in here.
Well, you know, it wouldn't be summer because it's boots. You mean like previous fall?
Previous year,
I think
maybe
so.
previous decade. They look a little bit like go-go boots, actually.
Yeah. Like patent leather.
Right.
They're like dominatrix
They
boots. I
zip
think.
up the side.
They're meant for the kind of like, you stick that spike and heel and then it will
It's not your
Speaking of
D's.
fetishes,
Not your D's, Tim.
These boots are made for activity.
That's right, those boots should lactate.
All the more reason to the boots.
how do you feel about the whole lactating conversation?
Yeah, what's up with
I'm
lactation?
perfectly fine with them.
You're perfectly fine. You're not against lactation.
No, it happens.
Aren't we all like pro lactation? I mean,
You guys
the
were
boob is
you were
like the
Didn't
thing
we all?
where any sexuality, any gender comes together. You know what I mean? Because that's where, like, the first the breast is the first focus of desire that any human being feels. I think, personally.
Yeah,
So-
but then what happens? I mean,
Well, who knows? Then we grow into different categories. But at that point, we're all unified around the boob.
yeah, but then, I mean, once you start desiring, not desiring something, you get all fucked up. And
I can
after
see
that,
that,
all
yeah.
bets are off.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right.
Is it really true about the soy milk?
I've heard that.
That it raises your estrogen level. Yeah, yeah, it does. So what was this
Do
one?
you have a favorite soy milk flavor?
No, I don't.
There was a powdered milk in the Philippines called lactone.
Lactone.
Yeah.
What was it?
Powdered milk?
It's powdered milk.
Yeah, they have Clem, right?
Lactone. There's clay.
See, I could
They sell
have.
Clem in the bodegas.
I'm lactose intolerant here in America, but not in the Philippines.
Oh, I bet maybe the pasteurizing.
Because it's not-
That's
Yeah.
some bullshit.
Yeah, and also over there I had like, it wasn't like fresh milk, I had powdered
It's all
milk
powdered
and
milk.
condensed milk that I would add water to and
Yeah.
sugar, or
Yeah.
evaporated milk that was already really sweet, so I just added water to it.
Yeah, it's really geographically lactose.
That was my childhood milk, I mean, apart from, you know.
Powdered milk.
My mother's
Filipino
But
moms
that's
like
considered
to
poor.
powder.
Yeah.
Seriously, we're so poor we couldn't afford like regular milk.
That's why we had like,
Powder, we couldn't afford regular milk.
Powder milk.
That's why we became artists.
Yeah, you know that song.
We had to snort
That's
from
why
our
we
mom's
like
home.
This one again?
There's, I think it's Mike's
Like
because there's another cactus.
Yeah, that was the Tucson reference. When did I been to Tucson? I don't know.
And there were cowboys.
There were a couple Tucson references.
There were. Well, the first one was that one, and then the wanking cactus came later. And
Oh, right after.
right around Rambo. Which makes me think, was it horses?
You have a lot of
Patty
teeth.
Smith, where she goes, go Rambo, go Rambo.
You know what? The cactus in a totem pole is a sign of courtship.
There's a totem pole somewhere in here too. I don't know where.
It's
I think it's on this
symbolized
side.